If you are not using self-visualization, then you are missing about 50% of potential improvement in any activity or in any field that you are in. Here are the top 3 things about self-visualization that you can do today to ensure that you improve the fastest. My name's Timothy Goddard, and for the last 10 years, I've been coaching up to a national level of swimming. And for too long, I've seen people live small and not live the lives that they are truly capable of living. All right. Number 1, self-visualization in who we are becoming is the most important thing, because if we can visualize who we want to be in the future, we know what direction we need to take now. The main problem I see with a lot of people is that they're kind of blindly going through without any idea of where they're actually ending up. I want you to imagine who you are in the future and what those habits look like, what that person is doing, who they're talking to, what they're wearing. The more detail you can go into and the more in depth you can go into, the more clearly you can see what habits you need to become the person that you want to be. Now, the most important thing here is it's going to change throughout your life, and mine changes all the time, but that doesn't matter. The most important thing is we have a direction on where we are going. Okay, someone without direction can end up walking in circles. So we need to find a target, which in this case is the person that we can see in our mind. We can work backwards because we can see their habits that they have. So for example, if we wanted to become maybe a basketballer, okay, we can see what habits that basketballer might have. They're rocking up on time, they have a really good breakfast, they have good foods, they're really precise on their techniques. They're doing all these things that you need to be doing in order to get to a higher level, okay? This is not only just going to be ensuring you that you're on the right path, but it's also going to give you motivation because you know you're on the right path. It's going to give you a sense of direction that you can take, that you know you are working towards something that you want. If you're working towards something that you want and you can see it clearly in your mind, you are going to be a lot more motivated than someone who has no idea what direction they are going in. This is an activity that you can do now. You can pause the video or you can do later on. It doesn't matter. I want you to imagine, I want you to think about that person, think every single detail about that person, but that person is going to be you. I want you to visualize you in that scenario. Now, number 2, this is also a great way in learning new skills. And there is a study shown, there is a group of basketballers, I forgot what study it was, but there were 3 groups. There was an A, there was a B, and there was a C group. And in the A group, they were getting everybody to shoot free throws. So they were standing at the free throw line, they were trying to get the ball into the basket. And group A, they were telling group A, right, we want you to practice, I think it was an hour a day of shooting this basketball in the basket. Group B, they told them to do absolutely nothing, right? And group C, they told them, okay, we want you to practice doing this, but not physically, we want you to do it mentally and in your mind. And about 30 days later, they got all the players together, and these were players that were not necessarily basketballers. They were just people who came to the study. And group A had about a 23% improvement on their free throw, the ones which were doing it physically. Group B, as you can imagine, had no change because they didn't practice it physically. And then Group C had just the same amount of improvement as Group A, the physical ones, or to the nearest percentage. And it really shows us that mentally, if we can visualize what we're going to be doing and practicing a skill, we can improve our chances of performing the skill when it's required. And this is one of the best studies of how self-visualization or visualization can help us improve a skill. Now, this self-visualization, the reason it works is because when you're imagining the skill that you're doing, it's creating the neural pathways in your brain and allows you to learn that skill without physically doing it. Now, a key thing is that you have to be able to do the skill. You can't just completely make up a skill or do something that you have never done before, but it has to be something you can visualize and go through what the right movements, because the study really is about performance, and being able to visualize the same thing over and over is the key takeaway. If you had group A shooting that basketball and every single time they were shooting it in a different way and they were going over the head and then they were like going underarm, they weren't getting the same practice that they should be doing just going from a normal technique. Everyone can visualize a skill that they need to do, but they need to be able to visualize that skill to the best of their ability. Now, for an example, I did this when I first started doing jiu-jitsu. Now, I didn't do jiu-jitsu for too long, but if you know anything about jiu-jitsu, it's quite a technical activity to do. There's quite a lot of techniques to set up other techniques, and the key thing that I was doing, and I felt that was improving my time on the mat the best that I could, was I would watch a video, and I would be smart about this. I would watch videos which were kind of more based towards my level, and I would watch these videos, but I would only go over one thing, and I would make sure that I could see that in my mind, and I wanted to make sure that I could see that skill and I could perform that skill in my mind before taking it onto the mats. And I would practice doing this over and over and over again until I realized that by the time I got to the mats, that I could actually perform these skills pretty well. The only thing that I wasn't doing was the physical part, and the only difference was that sometimes the person would react differently to what I had in my mind, but the actual skill itself was the same. So I ended up learning a lot of skills extremely fast, just being able to self-visualize myself doing it and being able to perform it each time. And then I had the physical practice of what happens if they did X, Y, and Z. So again, if you have a skill that you want to learn, then visualization is a powerful tool, but just make sure that you can actually do some skills or do that skill before you keep practicing it. If you're doing the skill wrong, then you might be practicing it in a bad way and then reinforcing bad habits. All right, number 3 on the visualization is its improvement in self-belief. And if you don't believe that you can do it, you definitely can't do it. So you need to be able to believe in yourself, and you need to be able to believe that you can do an activity before you expect to perform in that activity. And I'll give you a story on how self-visualization can greatly enhance your ability to perform. And in 1954, there was someone called Roger Bannister. Now, Roger ended up breaking the 4-minute mile, and at the time, it was considered impossible, and all the doctors considered that you were going to die if you were to actually do this. And there were a lot of athletes who were close but not quite yet over that. breaking that 4-minute. So the way that Roger Bannister ended up breaking this 4-minute mile was he used that self-visualization, and he would close his eyes and imagine the race. He would imagine the crowds around him. He would imagine what he's wearing. He would imagine his technique, what he's going to feel like, how he's going to go around the track, how he's going to cross that finish line and see that clock and see that time of 3:59 or whatever the time that he was going for, whatever was in his mind. But the key thing here was everyone told him that it was impossible. Everyone thought that it was impossible. And when you think that something is impossible, how can you achieve it? How can you get your body to achieve something that your mind doesn't think it can achieve? And the key thing is improving that mindset and making sure that you're not in the group of the bunch of people that think it's impossible, but you're in the group of knowing that it's possible. You just got to change your mind, your belief, and that's going to travel down into your body. Now, there are some things which you got to be reasonable about. You can't just say, oh, I'm going to fly, and then you're going to fly. But everyone was very close to breaking that 4-minute mile, and that self-visualization got Roger over the line and breaking that 4-minute mile. And when he ended up breaking it, after a while, quite a few athletes also ended up breaking that, not because they were any faster necessarily, but their mind changed, their self-belief changed in themselves. So their body was then capable of doing it because their mind believed on it. This is one of the key things which I've experienced in all sorts of sports and activities is a lot of people try and go and achieve something and they don't believe it, when really they need to be working on their self-belief, and that's going to travel down into them eventually achieving it. Making sure that you believe what you can achieve is so important in allowing yourself to go for those scary things, to go for those scary habits, which you might not normally go for, but you can achieve them. If you can see them, if you can see visually where you're going, how you're performing in them, then taking that step into that new thing is going to be much easier for you to do. So as a recap, I want you to imagine who you're going to be in the future, what that person is doing. You're going to work backwards and you're going to build the habits that person is creating. And I will see you in the next one.